podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Sunday, August 29th, 2021. This is episode 1824. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with the code TWIT75. Limited time offer. And by AT&T Active Armor. We rely so much on our phones these days and are always on them, whether it's live streaming content, catching up with family on weekly video calls, or watching your favorite podcast. There's no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats, and no extra charge. Compatible devices, service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yes, that's me. Time to talk tech. Computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz, all that rigmarole. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. I said it real slow there. Is that okay? Okay? 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number to call if you want to talk tech. We can talk about computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. There's a website. Yes, of course. What kind of tech guy would I be without a website? TechGuyLabs.com. TechGuyLabs.com. And at that site, you will find everything we talk about. This is show 1824. James DeRuvo's taking notes, so that means it'll all be up there. Answers to your questions, questions to your answers, comments, suggestions, links, even audio and video. Yes, we make video of this radio show, as exciting as it is. All will be there for free, no sign up or anything. I know I should probably charge, shouldn't I? No, it's not worth anything. It's just there for you. So if you hear something, you don't have to write it down. You can find it there. TechGuyLabs.com. Well, this was kind of a surprising headline. European agency advises against using search and browsing history for credit scores. What? Search and browsing history for credit scores. People must be doing that, or they wouldn't be saying they shouldn't do it. It should not be used for the assessment of credit scores and credit worthiness. This comes from the European Data Protection Supervisor. The EDPS considers that inferring customers' credit risk from data such as search query data or online browsing activities cannot be reconciled with the principles of purpose, limitation, fairness, and transparency, as well as they're just throwing words in now, as well as relevance, adequacy, or proportionality of data processing. That's a lot of words. Therefore, the EDPS, European Data Protection Supervisor, that's me, recommends explicitly extending the prohibition to search query data or online browsing activities. Are financial and credit services looking at our search records? At our social media posts? That's scary. That's scary. So, I don't know if they're just saying, well, don't do it in case you were thinking of it, or if they're saying people are doing this, you should stop. But that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I guess it's probably the case, as if they could, they would. And I guess they can. You know how big these app stores have gotten? We now know how big Google's app store, Google Play Store, is, thanks to the lawsuit from Utah and 36 other U.S. states or districts suing Google over antitrust violations of the App Store. A new filing says that Google in 2019, 2 years ago, generated $11.2 billion in revenue from its mobile app store. Well, there you go. Wow. Oh, even better. So 11.2, that's just revenue. You know, how much profit? Oh, $8.5 billion. $8.5 billion. That's a 62% profit margin. Nice work if you can get it. It just shows that 30% that Apple and Google charge to developers, it might be a little higher than it has to be. That's a lot of profit. They're making money. This is kind of a little battle going on between developers and these big companies who say you shouldn't be charging so much, and the big companies who say, yeah, but we give you, look what we give, look what you get, look what you're getting. Come on, that's good stuff we're giving you. The free app store and all that. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I mean, in the old days, you'd give up half of your revenues to the brick and mortar store that sold your software, not to mention the fact you'd have to print up CDs and put them in a box and all that stuff. You'd have to make manuals. No need for manuals anymore. We'll just put it in the App Store. Wow. So 30% initially seemed like, well, that's a good deal. It's not 50%, and I don't have to print anything. I don't have to even do a manual. I can just put it up on the App Store there, and Apple and Google even help promote it. Seems like a good deal to me. But the worm has turned. People are not too happy with that take. Especially, and this makes sense, the bigger companies like Netflix, Amazon, who say, look, this is just riding on our coattails. We're not riding on your coattails. If you have the Kindle app or the Audible audio book app on your iPhone, you can't buy books or anything in the app. You have to exit the app, buy it on Amazon's website, then come back into the app because Amazon doesn't want to give 30% to Apple. They said, well, we don't even make that much profit. You would just be giving all the profit to Apple. That's reasonable. Now we know it's some profit, $8.5 billion profit for Google in 2019 in the App Store. Apple, I'm sure, is even more. Even more. That's interesting. A little PSA. Start dialing all 10 digits in the phone number. For a long time, even on your cell phone, some of us, not all of us, I know in some areas you have to dial 10 now, right? Do you have to dial 10? This is not a change for you, but I live in the countryside and I could dial 7 digits if I'm calling a local number. Now I'm going to have to dial the full 10 digits, including the area code, starting, well, there's a transition. They say, the FCC says, become accustomed to 10-digit dialing now. If you forget and dial 7 digits, it'll still work, but become accustomed. Starting October 24th, a couple of months from now, you'll have to dial 10 digits for local calls. If it's dialed with 7 digits, you'll get a recording that'll say, this call cannot be completed as dialed. And then you'll have to hang up and dial again using the area code. This is actually for a good thing, a good reason, but I just thought I'd warn you so you understand what's going on. Almost every state has area codes that are affected here. I think that these are the states where you could dial 7. I think for many places you've had to dial 10 for a while. Is that right? It's because they want to have a 3-digit code. I think this is completely a good idea. This is just a little trigger warning here. We're going to talk about something that can be upsetting and even dangerous for people. But they want to have a number. Right now, the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is an 800 number, 800-273-8255. Nice people, really there to help. But they want to make it even easier, and so they want 988. 988, just like, we have 911 for emergencies, 988 for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It will also be for the Veterans Crisis Line. And I think this is good. Mental health crisis counselors will be on standing by. But in order to do that, we have to change how the phone system works because it means, I guess, 988 now. Maybe there's parts of the country where 988 is part of a phone number. I'm not sure. This will apply to all telecommunications carriers, all voice over internet protocol service providers. This has been a 2-year transition, but the transition's about to transit. It's because October 24th, 10 digits. And then July 16th, 2022, 988 will start working. It doesn't work yet, but it will start working in July of next year. You can consult the North American Numbering Plan Administrator for a complete list of affected area codes. Wow. I didn't know there was a North American Numbering Plan Administrator. You think that person has a desk in the basement and just a lot of printouts and stuff? Or is it a whole office full of people? I don't know. They have provided a list on the FCC website of area codes that are the 10-digit dialing fact sheet. So get ready. I thought I'd let you know. Just a little public service announcement. Start dialing 10 digits. When I was a kid, in some small towns, you could dial 4 digits. You didn't even have to dial the exchange. There was, I guess, if there's, 10,000 people in the town. See, that actually covers a lot of numbers. I remember getting lost in the woods once with my sister when I was probably 8 or 9, and we finally found a house. I knocked on the door. Lady, we're lost. Can we call? And she says, yeah, there's the phone over there. Call 6391. I said, what? Even then, big city kid that I was from Pawtucket, we had to dial 7 digits. She only had to dial 4. It confused me at first. I said, well, I'm sorry, what? 4 digits? She had to come over and dial. We got home safe and sound. But so I guess in those days, even 4 digits, long time ago. 4 digits, yeah. Captain Pike in our chat room. Loved you in Star Trek, by the way. 4-digit town in the 80s, he said. So even as recently as the 80s, there were still 4-digit towns. Now it's 10. Everywhere it's going to be 10. My number, 8888, ask Leo. 8888, that's 4. ASK, that's 7. LEO, that's 10. 10 digits. 888-827-5536. We can talk high tech. You can ask your questions. Coming up, our panel of experts, Sam Abuelsamid, will talk about car technology. We'll talk about digital photography with Chris Marquardt. Got a new assignment. I'll tell you about that. And Rod Pyle, Spaceman, will be here in the third hour. I wonder if he minds me calling him a spaceman. Spaceman. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk high tech, you and me. You're a little blurry.
I am very blurry.
Focus that camera. Is this the...
I'm a sight for sore eyes.
Do you have the Zsa Zsa Gabor filter on the camera there? Well, hello.
It may be an improvement, though.
There's a little. They put a little Vaseline on the lens. Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, for a variety of reasons, I don't get to sit in the same room with her. Really, the real reason is because she's loud. She's answering the phone.
I'm not.
Phone's ringing
loud.
off the hook. Well, you got to talk to people, and I'm trying to do a show here, so we keep each other. It's always been that way, right? It's not because of COVID.
I used to be behind a piece of glass, and I could actually look at you.
In the old days, I could see you. We don't have any glass in the studio. They don't allow me to have glass in the studio, so I could just see you through a camera. Now in focus, by the way.
Yeah, we got that changed.
They took the Zsa Zsa Gabor filter off. Kim is the person who will answer the phones and talk to you and say, well, that's a dumb question, and then put you right on the air.
I've never said that.
No, you wouldn't do that.
I just think it.
Do you really?
No, I don't actually.
No, there are no dumb questions.
It's just when I get the calls about the aluminum in my walls and these magazines were
the
written
crazy
just for
people.
me,
You could get the.
I go.
Go, Leo's not talking to crazy people today. Maybe you call tomorrow.
I'll give you the hotline for.
It's one of the things I actually love about talk radio is especially late night talk radio. Ever worked late nights? Oh,
No.
boy, did the crazies
I've
come
worked
out.
overnights, but
Yeah.
that was all syndicated, so I didn't have to answer phones.
But the thing is, you're so
crazy.
desperate at 3 in the morning to get any calls, you put them all on the air.
Yeah.
Crazy or not. In fact, you hope you get a crazy call because that's
I'm
entertaining.
sure that's what the hosts thrive.
Yeah, you draw that one out for a couple of hours. Keep it going. So the aliens are where?
In my walls.
In the walls, huh? Let's not.
Under my bed.
Yeah. Who should I start with here?
I like Andrew in Ventura. He wants to, maybe you can help him live stream to YouTube from his drone. I don't know. Is it possible?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
He's
Thanks,
tried
Kim.
everything, but it sounds interesting.
Well, that's why you call the tech
why
guy.
you call you.
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, good morning. That's me.
What kind of drone do you have?
DJI. I did a lot of research, asked a lot of people, and it turns out, in my opinion, they're the best because they got little tiny ones and they've got big ones that'll do agricultural spraying.
Yeah, if you're willing to spend tens of thousands of dollars, you can do anything. I agree. And they also have very affordable drones. They're the kind of the king of the drone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have an app. Do you use the app, the Go4 app or whatever it's called?
They've got the Go 4, and I've got the Smart Controller. But let me just point out something before. You were talking about 7-digit 10 and 7-digit phone numbers.
Yeah.
I know finally why we're going to have the everybody full 3. But you said you did dial a 4-digit. Did you know there was less than that?
Less than 4?
There was less than 4.
Do you remember that in your youth?
Not specifically, but when Alex called Watson, I think he dialed 1 digit.
You probably need to dial a digit, just pick up the line and it's connected. We've been on our Security Now show. Steve Gibson has been, for the last few weeks, showing a series of images of early phone towers, like we're talking 1900. And in the earliest days of phones, every line was direct connected to every other line. You had to go to a switchboard, and then the operator would say, what number would you like? And then she'd put a patch cable in, and you'd be directly connected. There were no switches, so it'd be all line-to-line connected. And in order to do that, they had to have hundreds of thousands of lines on these giant poles. It was really quite the sight. So, yeah, we've come a long way. Now with packet switching and stuff, Although
I got a quick question.
Yes.
Sorry. I got a quick question about the App Store. There are two things that I just don't understand, and that is why when there's a price on a product, the prices are all over the place. And it doesn't say why. It just says, hey, here are the prices. Anybody's paid anywhere from $1 to $20.
For the same app?
The same thing.
For the same app?
Yeah. If you look on where it says app requires a payment.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's different. Yeah. So in-app purchases, that's the in-app purchase segment. And usually the way that works is there's different, you pay more for more features and so forth. This is, you can kind of blame Apple for all of this confusion because they don't give you a lot of choices. So for instance, I'm out of time. We could talk about streaming another time, and I could talk about the App Store another time. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'll talk to you off the air. Sam Abuelsamid coming up. We're going to talk cars next. How did that happen? And I was having so much fun talking about the phone system. So part of it is because Apple won't let developers put free apps, demo apps in the store. So you have to come up with some sort of scheme to kind of give people a chance to try before they buy. And so basically, I think a lot of developers are using in-app purchases in that way. And in some cases, you have a specific app you're talking about?
No. It's just everyone. I mean, there's a price that says lifetime purchase $3 and not lifetime purchase $7.
Oh, yeah, you'll get different. I think you'll get different features.
It doesn't say.
Yeah.
With this, you get a side name. They're just all the same thing.
Maybe
the App Store.
They're just asking you to support them. I know.
Everybody says on updates, we're fixing bugs. I want to change logs.
I do too. You're an old timer. I do too. I want to know what was wrong. Sometimes they're cutesy, which I hate even worse.
Yeah, like the YouTubes. Oh, we're fixing bugs in the cosmos.
Yeah, haha. Tell me what was wrong. Well, I guess it's not our right to know what's wrong, but I think it would be nice. So you want to stream? You still want to stream YouTube, or you just Do you care?
I use a different email address for everybody. That way, I know who's selling my my email address.
I do that as well.
In other words, IBM at my website, or
I do that.
At my website.
That's one of the things. That's why I was always talking about creating your own domain, because that's one of the benefits of that is if you're lucky enough to have an email provider that will let you do this, because some email providers charge per address, but my email provider, Fastmail, I can have as many addresses at the domain as I want. And yeah, that's exactly what I do. You know, I thought I'd catch them out. I thought I could. They would, sell my name, and I would get all this email from other people, and it never happened. It hasn't happened yet, anyway. The only time that's happened is with Quibi. I had Quibi at leoville.com. And then they sold to Roku, so now I'm getting things from Roku. But I knew they were going to sell to Roku, but I didn't. I thought Verizon. I'll probably get 100 different people sending to Verizon at Leoville, but no. So, but yeah, at least you kind of know who has your phone, your email. Plus, it keeps it private. Tech Guy Podcast brought to you today by Udacity. Now, I'm a big Udacity fan. In fact, I joined when they first started back. I think they were founded exactly 10 years ago in 2011. I joined about a year later. When I first heard about these nano degrees, I thought, this is so cool. The idea is there are skills these big tech companies like Google and Microsoft need. They're not getting from the workforce. So they partnered with Udacity to create these nano degrees to help train people in the skills they need to get the jobs they want in technology. Udacity offers a unique part-time online education program. It's geared for anyone who wants to take your tech knowledge to the next level. Great content, exciting content. The latest stuff, cutting-edge degrees in, things like AI, deep learning, flying car, and autonomous flight engineer. Would that not be a cool thing to be working on that? Intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer. This is the one I would do, robotics software engineer. They've got courses in programming. They've got courses in everything you need. And the thing I love about Udacity, very hands-on. They're focused not on just absorbing the information, but actually putting it to use. All their course content is project-based. So the learning is active. You actually have to do it. And your projects are going to get reviewed by real qualified professionals. You'll get code reviews just like you would if you were working at one of these big companies. You'll get human feedback, but you're not alone. You're going to get mentorship too. The mentors are available 24/7 because they know people. First of all, people use Udacity all over the world. And many people have day jobs, and they're getting skills so they can get in a better job. You know, the Udacity is in 240 countries. 14 million people now use it all over the world. That is so exciting. Content with partners from companies like Microsoft, Google, IBM, AWS. Team leads at the top companies are instructors. You're really learning from the people who are doing this day in, day out. It's very practical. If you love learning, you're always looking to learn new stuff, Udacity is great for you. And flexible schedules mean you can do it with your day job. You can put it as little as 5, with a family, with other obligations, as little as 5 to 10 hours a week. You work at your own pace whenever is comfortable for you, and you can graduate in as little as 3 months. That's great, right? Just a little homework, a little study, do your project. It's a great feeling. It's very satisfying. According to the World Economics Forum, 75 million jobs will be replaced by automated processes. In the next 3 years, maybe one of you will be out of work, but that's why you go to Udacity to get the skills to get a job for the future. Flexible payment options, learn at your own pace and schedule. There are also free courses. And let me tell you, if you are a business, you're going to love Udacity for Enterprise. If your team needs to master cutting-edge technologies like data science, AI, cybersecurity, Udacity for Enterprise helps you upskill your entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. Make sure you check out the enterprise section of Udacity's website today. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit. By the way, we got a great deal for a limited time right now. Don't waste time. Go there right now, udacity.com/twit. If you use the offer code TWIT75, you get 75% off any program. That's the biggest discount I've ever seen. This is a really great deal. Udacity, Udacity, udacity.com/twit, twit75. 3 months from now, you could be making $100K or more in the job you love, doing what you love at one of the big tech companies, and you can thank Udacity. Udacity.com/twit. We thank Udacity for their support. And support us by using that URL and that special offer code. Don't forget, twit75 for 75% off any program. Now, back to the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sam Abuelsamid is here, our automotive genius. He's a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights, where he studies big data. He's also worked for the big car companies, and he does a podcast about automotive technology called Wheel Bearings at wheelbearings.media. Joins us every week to talk about stuff. There's a lot of tech in cars today. Hey, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you this week?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Happy to be home. Had my last trip for a while. I've canceled some other trips that I had coming up.
You were across the street. You didn't say hi. I guess
Almost.
You couldn't.
I waved. I waved as we drove by.
It's kind of nice. We live in the studio's up in wine country in Sonoma County, up in Northern California, and I guess I want to say Xfinity, the Infinity guys decided to take you up to the wine country to test drive, and they drove all around our area, which is very cool.
And yeah, we actually drove right through downtown Petaluma.
So funny.
Part of the drive route. And
yeah.
I waved at the brick house as we drove past it, the old brick house, the old studio.
The old studio.
Nice. We had a lovely lunch at McAvoy Ranch and tasted some excellent olive oils.
Nan McAvoy is a local legend here. Instead of doing a winery with her ranch, she did olive trees and makes amazing olive oil. So, some fantastic stuff. She's an heir to the Chronicle family, the San Francisco Chronicle family. So she had a little money. Yeah. Beautiful ranch.
But that's not what I want to talk about today.
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about hands-free driving assist systems.
Yes.
You and I have some history with that. Several years ago, we did a review of GM's first-generation Super Cruise system and the Cadillac CT6.
I enjoyed that, actually. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then now there's another one coming out. There's actually multiple automakers are launching hands-free systems this year. GM has launched the second generation of their Super Cruise system, which is much more capable than what you and I drove several years ago. I've driven it a couple of times now. And I think we talked about it a few weeks ago after I drove it on a prototype of the 2022 GMC Sierra pickup. And then I also recently had the opportunity to try out Ford's Blue Cruise system, which you should be getting fairly soon in your Mustang Mach-E. It's launching in the Mach-E and in the Ford F-150 in the next couple of months.
Now, how does this compare to Tesla's full self-driving software?
So none of Tesla's systems currently allow you to technically to drive with your hands off the wheel.
Oh.
They are all hands-on systems.
Okay.
So what we call level 2 automation, there's this Society of Automotive Engineers has a scale from level 0, which is no driving assist at all, up to level 5, which is full automation under all conditions where it doesn't require any human supervision at all. This is what's known as level 2, where the system is capable of doing steering and speed control, but the driver has to remain alert and ready to take over at any time.
As it should be, because these things aren't perfect. Yeah.
Right. And
Tesla's being investigated by NHTSA for plowing into emergency vehicles 11 times over the last 5 years.
Well, and just on Thursday, another Tesla ran into a stationary Florida Highway Patrol car near Orlando. So that's
terrifying. Yeah, the trooper's okay, thank goodness. But it apparently doesn't do well with stationary objects, I guess.
Apparently not. No.
Okay.
But Blue Cruise, like Super Cruise, is designed as a hands-off system. So unlike Tesla, which doesn't do anything to geofence the system, and There are other systems like Volvo's Pilot Assist, Nissan's Pro Pilot Assist, and some others that are hands-on systems like Autopilot, but they don't do any geofencing of where you can activate the system. For these hands-free systems like Super Cruise, Blue Cruise, and Pro Pilot version 2 that's coming from Nissan just after the first of the year on their new EV, these are hands-free, but they're limited to divided highways. So they use high-definition maps of divided highways. GM's got about 200,000 miles mapped now. Ford starting with about 130,000 miles. And only when you're on those roads can you activate the system.
And they're freeways pretty much, right? There's not. Yeah,
like interstates and other divided highways. So there's no intersections, no traffic lights,
no
like
stop signs. Yeah.
And Ford's system is nominally similar in functionality to the GM system that launched 4 years ago, but it's actually missing some capabilities that GM even had 4 years ago. So it's not quite as good as what GM is offering with Super Cruise. Certainly not as good as their latest Super Cruise that they're offering today. For
GM
example,
went to court against Ford because they said our Super Cruise and your Blue Cruise, you can't call it Blue Cruise. Did that get resolved, or is that still ongoing?
Ford is actually countersuing GM.
You don't own Cruise.
They're asking the Patent and Trademark Office to actually revoke the GM trademarks because they are too generic. So we'll see what happens with that. But the system itself is not quite as functional. For example, with Super Cruise, it uses the map data as a long range sensor as well. So when you're going down the highway, if there's a curve in the road, if you have the system set at a speed, like say you've got it set at 75 miles an hour, and the radius of the curve is a little bit too sharp to safely go through at that speed, the system will detect that, and as you approach the curve, it'll automatically slow you down to a speed that's safe enough to go through the curve, and then as you exit the curve, it'll automatically resume the speed you had. The Ford system doesn't do that yet. So it's a little bit less capable. So as you approach some curves, it'll actually tell you have to put your hands back on the wheel. It does have.
How much warning is it going to give me? Enough time to get him on the wheel?
Oh yeah.
Oh good.
Yeah, you should have plenty of warning.
That's one of the reasons it's only on mapped roads, because it knows plenty of time ahead of time that there's a curve coming up. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it will give you that warning, and they do have an infrared driver monitor camera that keeps an eye on the driver to make sure you're watching the road and you're staying alert. You know, if you look away from the road for more than a few seconds, or if you become unconscious for whatever reason, if you say you have a heart attack or something or a stroke, it will realize that you have become inattentive or incapacitated, and it will automatically slow the car down and bring it to a stop if you continue to be unresponsive. So that is a good thing. But the interface is also, I think, not quite as good as the GM interface. You can, if you're watching the live video stream, you can see over my shoulder an animation of the instrument cluster from the F-150. Unlike the GM vehicles, which have a light bar in the top of the steering wheel rim that tell you very clearly, if it's red, then it's, you can't use the system right now. If it's blue, it's ready but not active yet, and if it's green, then the system is active. Ford has decided to forego that and just put these graphics in the instrument cluster to tell you when you're in a hands-free zone and when it's active. It's not quite as obvious. If the system needs you to take over, it takes a little more attention. You have to try and figure out what's going on. Whereas I think the GM system with the light bar is much more obvious what you need to be able to do, what you need to be doing at that point in time. So
it's interesting.
I think Ford still has a little more work to do.
These big automakers, the big three, be much more cautious than Tesla, and I guess Elon would argue, well, that's why we're ahead of the game because we're taking chances. I don't know if I want to take chances in automotive safety, to be honest.
Not with safety critical systems.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be taking chances with safety critical systems.
Well, at some point I'll get this on my Mustang Mach-E, and I'll let you know. I like the adaptive cruise control fine. I think that's really all I need at this point. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
I'm glad they're paying attention to safety.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, the adaptive cruise is I would say, like 90% of this. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is going to be, except maybe I can do lane changes, and I can take my hands off the wheel.
Well, and the Ford system doesn't yet do lane changes. It will eventually.
Okay. So it's really just being able to take your hands off the wheel is the only difference.
Yeah. And, ever since I first drove Super Cruise almost 4 years ago, I've been a little skeptical of these types of systems because, they say it reduces the driver's workload, and it does to a degree, but it also adds new kinds of cognitive workloads.
Yeah, you don't want to reduce the workload too much because the driver needs to be participating in the drive.
Yeah.
Reduce the workload too much, the driver, stops paying attention.
Right, and that's the problem you see, often in Teslas. I mean, that's the problem that Waymo saw, back early on in their development. They looked at developing a system like this, and during their testing, they monitored what drivers are doing in the vehicle with a hands-free system like this, and they realized that drivers were not paying attention. And so that's why they abandoned that approach and decided to just go all in on a fully automated system. So it's...
I'm just looking at on the one thing the Ford does, and I don't know, this is kind of like the self-driving. It actually grades me on my driving. So you see, I had excellent braking. My acceleration was a little too rapid there. Excellent cornering, not too fast, not too sharp. Isn't that funny? I guess in a way that's sort of like the opposite, but it's related technology.
And I think that's actually a good thing is, to monitor what the driver is doing and provide feedback, as to what is, whether it's for efficiency or safety, that kind of driver coaching, I think, is actually a really positive thing. And it's helpful to a lot of drivers, especially, I think, to young drivers that are still gaining experience. If you can provide that coaching and feedback, then I think that's a really good thing. But for anybody, really, especially for efficiency, especially if you're driving an EV, adjusting your driving style to get the most out of that battery, I think is really, really helpful. And they've been doing things like that in vehicle in the instrument cluster for a long time. Back when Ford first launched their Fusion Hybrid back in 2009, they had a new instrument cluster display that included a coaching system in there, and Toyota and other manufacturers do things like that as well to help drivers get adjust their driving styles, don't accelerate quite so hard, avoid braking so hard, try and be smoother and have smoother transitions.
And I guess the ultimate benefit besides safety is that you'll get better efficiency. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. These are all, I don't drive too much. So let's see. I'm not recording on this phone. I guess I only need to record on one phone. That's probably good enough. All right, Sam.
You want me to stick around?
Oh, I forgot. Yes. You like to stick around, if you don't mind.
I got nowhere else to be.
Good. All right.
All right, I'll stick around for the next break.
Thank you. We'll talk to you in about 10.
All right.
12 and a half, something like that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. Henry's on the line from Los Angeles. Hello, Henry.
Hi, Leo. I have a Synology NAS that I use for business. I have a small team of 3 or 4 folks that work from home, and I have both Macs and PCs, and I can set up the Synology to share using Apple File Share, and I can get on from home to the NAS that's at the office. But my Windows users in my company can't.
Yeah.
And I wrote tech support for, Synology, and they said that SMB, the Windows file sharing, isn't supported over unless you're on the same local network. And they said they wanted me to either do a VPN or WebDAV. And, the WebDAV apps, what I found, programs, were very cumbersome. I had to do all this certificate stuff that was, difficult. I mean, I'm just looking for guidance if you know the best way to get Windows users onto the Synology remotely.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that they wouldn't allow you to use. It's probably a good thing, SMB over the public internet, because that's the Windows file sharing technology, and yet they'll let you use the Apple file sharing technology. There are other systems like CIFS. I wonder if it'll support CIFS. In the settings, do you see other network file systems?
Yeah, I'm not looking at it right now, but I remember seeing that.
Yeah, this is an open source version of Samba, basically, called the Common Internet File System, or CIFS. And it should work. I think it might also support NFS, which is what Linux and Unix use as a network file system.
And then do the Windows machines support that remotely?
They should support CIFS. Yeah. This is an interesting question. I'm trying to think. I log into my Synology remotely both on, I think I use Windows, Linux, and Apple to log into my Synology, but then I don't remember exactly how I set it up. Synology, for those who don't know, is what we call a network-attached storage. It's really a Linux-based computer system that sits on your network. It doesn't have a keyboard, mouse, or monitor. It's just on your network. You access it from your computers, configure it using your browsers, and it has the benefit of, it can do things like file sharing. I have a Synology at work and a Synology at home, and the Synology at home backs up everything and then copies it to the Synology at work to give me off-site backup, things like that. I guess, I'd have to look at how I've set it up, because I know you can. Let me put it that way. I've done it.
Well, you could maybe put that in the notes later.
I'll have to look. Make sure you've got the ports open that you need.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I'm using for. So CIFS uses 139, which is or 445. It may be because I have turned on HTTPS using Let's Encrypt on my NAS, so that I have a HTTPS server, which would make it more secure, I think. NFS and CIFS use different ports, so you might have to look at the ports and open those particular ports. If you've already tried WebDAV, you opened up 5005 and 6, I think. So, I'm pretty sure you can use CIFS to do it, but I will have to.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
I was surprised they said that it wasn't supported.
That surprises me too. I didn't even think twice about it. And in fact, I know I'm thinking about this. I've accessed my Synology from my Windows machines at work. I've accessed my Synology at home, and vice versa. So I'm pretty sure you can do that. Do you have a fairly up-to-date Synology, fairly recent?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit older, but I do have the new DSM-7 operating system on it.
So if it runs DSM-7, then you're running the latest everything. That's an interesting question. There's also perhaps an issue with internet service providers. For a long time they blocked 139 because it was notorious that people would put Windows file sharing online and basically open up their computer to attack. And port 139 was widely used. People would scan for 139, and when they found it, they knew, hey, I can get into a Windows system here. So some ISPs, yours might be doing this, may block 139. I don't think you got good advice from the Synology guys, to be honest with you.
That was directly from a Synology tech support guy, which surprised me. But the 139, I will check with. I have AT&T fiber 500 by 500.
Yeah, because they don't. If you have is it a business service? Okay.
It is.
So business service, I'm sure will not do that.
Right.
Home services often in the terms of service say, and you can't run a server, including a file server, and we will block those ports. But that's what businesses do. So I'm sure that you can do that. I'm just trying to think how I do it. The other way you could do it actually might even be a better way, more secure way, is with SSH. The Synology supports SSH. That's a secure way of connecting to a computer and remotely accessing it. That will definitely. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, you can get up at the shared folders that way. The same.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can do SMB over SSH. I bet you SSH might be the key to all of this. In fact, that may be why I'm able to do this. I use SSH all the time. It's a secure. It's basically Telnet, the old log into another computer system, but it's secure. And Synology supports that natively. It's built into DSM. Stands for Secure Shell, and it does give you a text shell, but you can do file sharing over it. So I would suspect that might be how I'm doing it. I'll have to look. I think SMB over SSH might be possible. Let me do some research for you. I'm sorry that feel like the Synology guys should have given you a better answer, to be honest with you.
I'll try again. I'll hit them again. Do I have to turn SSH on then in the control panel?
You do. And you might want to change the default port. The Synology will complain if you don't. That's not a huge security protection, but at least it'll shut the Synology up. This is one thing I've noticed with tech support. Customer service reps. There's a variation in quality and knowledge. Not even quality. Let's say knowledge. And sometimes you get a guy who says, "Oh no, you can't do that." And you call back, you get a more senior guy or a guy who's got more experience and smarter maybe, who says, "Oh yeah, here's what you need to do." I'm not that guy apparently, but I think maybe trying again. I use SSHFS regularly to log into my server here. I bet you could use that with Synology, and then you'd be able to mount it and do all that stuff. There's got to be the thing that puzzles me. Windows is the dominant operating system. There's got to be a way to do that, or people wouldn't use Synology. So let me keep looking. Maybe somebody will call and answer that question as well. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. If you have a suggestion, or you can go to the website, techguylabs.com, and leave your comment. Somebody in the chat room is talking about T-Mobile. I got the dreaded text message from T-Mobile a couple of days ago. T-Mobile has determined that unauthorized access to some of your personal data has occurred. Me and 50 to 75 million other people. We have no evidence that your debit credit card information was compromised. No evidence. Could have been. Could be. We take the protection of our customers seriously. We're taking actions to protect your T-Mobile account. You know what the action is? They give me 2 years of McAfee identity protection. If this happens to you, maybe a good idea for everybody. I just went to all 3 credit agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and put a credit freeze on my account. I can't get credit, but nobody else can. I'd have to unfreeze it if I wanted credit. Just a little tip. You don't need a fraud alert, because a fraud alert wears off. You need a credit freeze, which anybody can get. It's free now, and I highly recommend it. And the only drawback is you can't get credit, but that's the point, isn't it? All right, Sam, I'm setting you up here. Going to give you a little window with a timer in it. There it is. Little timer right here. Zoom in.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Happy to do it.
Extra car stuff with Sam. And I get to get a cup of coffee.
There you go. All right, so let's start off with way back somewhere up in the chat. I forget who asked, but somebody was asking about Toyota and Lexus EVs. Yes, Toyota and Lexus have been, shall we say, reluctant to go down the battery electric vehicle route. They've done a couple over the years, mostly in partnership with other companies. They for a while they offered an electric version of the IQ, the Scion Iq, which was their little micro car that similar to the Smart that they no longer sell here. But they also did, back in the 90s, they did an electric version of the RAV4, the first generation RAV4. And then in about 2012, they briefly had a partnership with Tesla to do an electric version of the newer RAV4, which used a Tesla battery and motor. And they had a variety of issues. Their relationship with Tesla did not end particularly well. They had some quality problems there. But Toyota as a company has tended to be more conservative. They have tended to focus. They didn't feel that batteries were really ready for mainstream adoption, and so they put most of their efforts onto fuel cell technology, hydrogen fuel cell technology, and what has happened over the last decade is that battery technology has improved and the costs have come down dramatically, while and fuel cells have gotten a lot better as well, and the costs have come down, but the infrastructure for hydrogen fueling has not arrived, making it very difficult for them to sell any fuel cell vehicles. So basically, the only place they can sell them in the U.S. is in California, where there's about 40 or so hydrogen fueling stations. And Honda is, similarly has been focused more on fuel cells. They are, both of those companies, Toyota and Honda, are shifting towards battery electric. Toyota is going to be launching their first full from the ground up battery electric vehicles in 2022. There's going to be a Toyota model, midsize crossover called the BZ4X, which is a really terrible name, and hopefully they change it. We'll see. That's going to be launching about a year from now. And then there's also going to be a Lexus electric crossover that doesn't have a name yet. And that should also be coming before the end of next year. Honda's first two EVs, or next two EVs, will actually be will be built in partnership with GM. They're going to be using GM's Ultium platform for those vehicles. And the Honda Prologue is going to be revealed sometime next year and go into production the following year. And there's also going to be an Acura electric crossover, but they haven't announced any details on that one yet. With electric vehicles, one of the interesting things that you can do because of the regenerative braking capability, with electric motors, with a gasoline engine, once you burn the gasoline and turn it into heat energy that you use to move the pistons and turn the crankshaft, that's a non-reversible process. You can't take that exhaust and turn it back into gasoline, at least not within the context of a car. You can technically do it in a lab. But one of the great things about electric motors and electric drive is a motor can act as both a propulsion device to move the vehicle and also as a generator. So if you put electricity into a motor, it will turn and produce torque that moves the vehicle. On the flip side, when you don't put power into it and you mechanically turn it, like when you take your foot off the accelerator and the car's coasting and the wheels are turning the motor, it acts as a generator and puts energy back into the battery. Well, you can control how much regenerative braking you do and how much deceleration you get. If you have enough regenerative braking, you can do what's known as one-pedal driving. And there's a bunch of EVs that allow for one-pedal driving, including the Chevy Bolt, the Nissan Leaf, the BMW i3, as well as the Mustang Mach-E that Leo drives. And you can switch, you can control how much regen you get. So you can, if you like one-pedal driving, and I personally really like it, especially in stop-and-go traffic, because you're not constantly moving your foot back and forth between the accelerator and the brake pedal. You can just modulate one pedal, and it's a much nicer experience, I think. Or you can switch it to a low regen mode, where it behaves more like a traditional gasoline car. When you lift off, you get some coasting. You'll get a little bit of deceleration, but it mostly coasts like a gasoline car. And then when you hit the brakes, you'll get the brake pedal. You'll get the regenerative braking. Somebody was asking about the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The Ioniq 5 is the first of the new EVs coming off of Hyundai Motor Group's new electric platform. It's called eGMP, for Electric Global Modular Platform. Hyundai is launching the Ioniq 5. Kia is going to have a model called the EV6. And just this past week, Genesis, their premium brand, revealed the GV60. All of these share the same basic architecture. And the Ioniq 5, so all of them have an 800 volt architecture, 800-volt battery. They can support 350 kilowatt charging. And the Ioniq 5 will have a range of about 300 miles. And with that 350 kilowatt charging at DC fast, if you have DC fast chargers that support that, like Electrify America and increasingly some of the other networks do, you can charge it from 10% to 80% charge in about 18 minutes. So it's not quite as fast as filling a car with gas, but it's getting closer. So the Ioniq 5 will be a 5-passenger sort of compact crossover, similar in size to a RAV4, Honda CR-V, Hyundai Tucson, and should be very roomy because the battery is under the floor like it is in most modern EVs. It should be really interesting to drive. I'm looking forward to trying one out sometime this fall. Let's see. Somebody asked about the Hyundai Kona N. I've not driven the Kona N yet, but I actually just had the Veloster N, which has the same powertrain in a sleeker or sports car style body last week, and it is a lot of fun. It was a hoot to drive. And if you put it in N mode, it's got an 8-speed dual clutch transmission. When you put it in their N mode, which is their top sports mode, it behaves the way a driver with a manual transmission would. When you lift off and you're decelerating, it's downshifting, blipping the throttle. It's great fun. It was a blast to drive that one around. If I were to reincarnate, what dog would you come back as?
A corgi.
Yeah, I like corgi.
Thank you, Sam. Have a great week. Really appreciate it. All right, take care. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Or Canada. If you've got a question, comment, suggestion, please give me a ring. I kind of quickly ran through the T-Mobile thing at the end of the hour a few minutes ago, but I just want to mention it again. T-Mobile is now admitting to a fairly large breach, not the first, of customer data. And in this case, it includes customer data that really should have been kept a little bit more secure. Including social security numbers, driver's licenses, dates of birth, and addresses, all of which could be used, of course, for identity fraud, identity theft. Hackers can say, hey, I'm Leo. I want a credit card in his name. T-Mobile, I hope gets more than a slap on the wrist in this. The hacker who broke in told the Wall Street Journal that T-Mobile's security was awful. He used readily available tools to find an exposed router and had a whole week just browsing through customer data at its center near East Wenatchee, Washington. As I had mentioned, the best answer to this, at least for us as T-Mobile customers, and by the way, I got that text message I read to you saying, we're going to give you 2 years of credit monitoring. What do you want? That's not, sorry, that ain't going to cut it. Fortunately, you could take matters into your own hands. There are two different things you can go to the credit reporting agencies and ask for. One is a fraud alert and one is a credit freeze. They're different. You want a credit freeze. A fraud alert has some disadvantages. One, you have to demonstrate that you have reason to expect identity theft. Maybe this is sufficient, I don't know. But the other disadvantage is it's timed. It will run out after a period of time. You see, the credit reporting agencies really don't want to do this. They make their money selling your data to people to offer you credit. You ever notice how many solicitations you get in the mail saying, hey, you want a credit card? That's because your information has been sold to them by the credit agencies, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. That's how they make their money. So you put a credit freeze or a fraud alert on, they can't do that, and they're not happy about it. There is a disadvantage to putting a credit freeze on. You can't get credit either. That's the whole point, is it stops a bad guy from getting credit in your name, but it also stops you from getting credit in your name. The good news is Congress a couple of years ago passed a federal law saying companies can't charge for this. They used to. And they can't charge to unfreeze. They used to. And it varied by state. And they have to make it easy to do so. So if you go, and I did this, actually did it, took me about 10 minutes, went to all 3 agencies, said, I want a credit freeze. You could do it online. In a couple of the cases, they'll give you a PIN number. You want to keep track of that so you can unfreeze. And you just have to remember before you go out to buy a car or rent an apartment or buy a house or take out a loan of any kind or get a new credit card to unfreeze first. And then once you get the loan or the credit card, freeze it back up again. It's an easy thing to do. It costs you nothing. And I think if you're a T-Mobile customer, this would be prudent. T-Mobile says, we're confident we've closed the security holes. But it's their 3rd breach in 2 years. So I'm less than confident. I'm a happy T-Mobile customer. I use T-Mobile. I use all the cell carriers. I kind of have to because I use different phones, and also I want to try them all. But it would be, I think it's sensible to have a credit freeze anyway. There's all sorts of other ways people can try to get at you. And it's a lot easier not to have any identity theft than to try to fix it after the fact. So check out a credit freeze. 8888 Ask Leo. You could do it while you're listening to the show. Lauren's on the line from La Mesa, California. Our next call. Hi, Lauren.
Oh, good afternoon. Hey, Leo. First-time caller, long-time listener.
Thank you.
One question. Sure thing. Of all the smartphones, the current ones just between Android and iPhone, which is the most waterproof or actually a water-resistant phone on the market?
Oh, that's it. None of them. Probably the most you can. So the way they rate these is with the IP ratings. You've probably seen these in the ads or on the box or somewhere. The highest IP rating on a phone that I know of is the iPhone, which is IP68.
Okay.
Now, I could explain what there's a Wikipedia entry, so you can read this if you want on IP codes. But the 6 in the 68 means it's dust tight. That's the maximum dust tight. That's the first digit. It's the second digit that's water that you care about. The highest level of waterproof is actually 9K. But 68's pretty good. It means it's not only fully dust-proof, but it will protect you against immersion on up to 3 feet of water for up to, I think, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So now, does that mean you should dive with your phone? No. I would consider this more protection against accidental, dropping it in the toilet, which seems to be, for some reason, extremely common, or dropping it in a puddle or getting it wet in rain. I wouldn't use it as a waterproof camera, for instance, but it'll protect against normal splashing. I think Apple's going to get better at this because I think they're getting rid of all the ports in the next couple of years, and that'll make it easier to be fully waterproof. But the charging port still is a place water can get in. Now, the reason I say don't assume this is fully waterproof, a couple of things. First of all, if you read the literature, for instance, I just got a new Samsung phone, the Flip 3. It says, oh, good news, it's waterproof. But don't get it in salt water or anything but clean, clear water. Any solids dissolved in the water, coffee, soda, salt water, all bets are off. So the tests is maybe a little bit, and Apple even has a little test strip that they have right in the charging port there, and they can look in. I've been to the Apple store. The Genius looks in there with a little magnifying lens and says, "Oh yeah, you got it wet, didn't you?" So they know you got it wet. And at least at the time, you might check now, they did not warranty damage due to water, even if it's supposedly waterproof. So IP68 is, as far as I know, the best you can get. That's the current Apple iPhone. I think there are also other waterproof smartphones. Let me see here. Tom's Guide earlier this month did the best waterproof phones in 2021.
Okay.
Number 1 in the iPhone. Number 2, the iPhone. Number 3, the iPhone. Oh, here's one. Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. It's the best Android waterproof phone. Let me see what the rating is. It's IP68 as well. 5 feet for 30 minutes. So the Galaxy phones are also pretty waterproof. OnePlus 9 Pro, also IP68. I don't think anybody's IP69. If you get a 9, that means you can fire jets of water at it.
Yeah.
Powerful, high-temperature water jets.
Yeah.
Nobody makes a phone that's IP 9K. 68's pretty good.
Maybe in the future. How many people have lost phones to water damage after out in the rain? You got a job as a lifeguard, a plumber. Things happen.
So that's the thing is casual like splashing. You don't have to worry about that with iPhone or the Samsung Galaxy phones. But I wouldn't submerge them, and I'd be careful. You know, salt water is problematic even for a shorter duration.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like hand sanitizer. Don't get that on. Plus, I'm just thinking, wouldn't like the rubber seals wear out on them on time? The heat can get.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. They're testing new phones. They're not testing 3-year-old phones. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the real test of this is Apple will not, unless they've changed, will not warranty it for water damage. They don't. They're not guaranteeing waterproof. They're just saying, well, it's IP68 rated. Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
It's all on you now. So some years back there was a company that said we will waterproof your iPhone. You send it to us. They dip it in something, seals it all up. I remember seeing them at a trade show. They had iPhones in aquariums just sitting there bubbling away. I thought, well, that's pretty cool, but I should test it, right? For you. I do this for you. So I sent them my iPhone. Took them a week or two, got it back. Looks the same. They said, oh, no, it's fully waterproof. So, and I did this on live on the show. I said, well, let's try it. And I put my iPhone in a glass of water. That's all, just a glass of water. It died. It died almost immediately. I said, well, so much for that. Now, this is an earlier iPhone that was not IP68 rated. Brought it to the Apple store. Guy said, what happened? Now, I might have been, the little devil on my left shoulder might have been tempted to say, oh, I don't know, it just stopped working. I might have been. But fortunately, the angel on my left shoulder, I'm a little more honest than that. I said, I put it in a glass of water to see if it would survive. And the genius says, I know, I saw it. I said, why'd you ask me? I said, I wanted to see what you'd say. I'm glad I was honest. Always be honest. That's the motto, kids. They didn't replace it. They didn't repair it. They said, yeah, it's shot. I took it to an independent third-party guy. After the Apple guy said, yeah, you're going to have to buy a new iPhone. And he took it apart, and he said, wow, I've never seen this. I said, what? He says, the whole thing's short-circuited. Look at this, your battery. Look at it's like it was a mess. So, yeah, not fixable. I think they might be a little better now. Liquipel. That was what it was called. You remember that? Our Chandra in our chat room says, oh, yes, the Liquipel incident. Thank God I was honest, you know. Stick with your ethics. Thank you, little angel. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you want to call and talk tech. Yes, they say they're I would say water resistant. IP68 waterproof in theory. I'd say water resistant, and don't test it. Don't take it out for a swim. Hey, we'll be back with the show in just a second. The podcast brought to you today by AT&T Active Armor. Man, this is such a good idea. Look, these days we live on our phones, right? You're always on them, live streaming content, catching up with the family on weekly phone calls, video calls. We use FaceTime and talk to each other every week, watching your favorite podcast, perhaps. But the last thing you want is a fraud call right in the middle of it. It got so bad at one point, I just stopped answering the phone. Thank goodness for AT&T. They make customer security a priority, helping to block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. It's AT&T Active Armor. 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/Active Armor for details. Now back to the show. 8888 Ask Leo. By the way, I
didn't understand that.
I know you didn't, but I wasn't talking to you, so you can just be quiet now. Can I tell a little story on you, Professor Laura? I think my studio manager said, Laura, you should play some Mary Tyler Moore Show music because Ed Asner passed away. And you said, why would I care if some old guy from a TV show from the 70s? Because did you ever watch? Well, it was before you were born. Did you ever watch Mary Tyler Moore and reruns and or anything? Nope, no idea. Did you watch Lou Grant, the spinoff? Nope, no idea. That's what happens to us all. What are you going to play when I kick? You're gonna. Is there a song? You play my theme song, and people go, "Who cares about some guy on the radio in the 2000s? Some old. Who cares?" At least Ed Asner made us laugh. He made us cry. He was a great actor. And you know why I love Ed Asner? Because he started late in life. And I always thought, it's not too late for me to be an actor because Ed Asner started, in his 50s. There's no, you can go and say, well, let me see an early Ed Asner. No, he started, he wasn't an actor till, well, wait a minute. Okay, I take it back. He was an actor. Never mind. He was in the 1966 Western El Dorado with John Wayne. I had no idea. All right. So that somebody told me that. It was apocryphal. I apologize. Wrong. Bruce in Hesperia, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, good afternoon, Leo.
Hi, Bruce.
Thanks for taking my call. A long-time listener since the Tech TV and screensaver days.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Maybe they'll play the screensaver.
Cool
scene.
T-shirts that you made up with the sort of the Matrix-inspired.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are the old TWiT T-shirts. Yeah. You have one of those?
I have two of them. I wear them on the weekends.
They're very valuable.
Yeah, I love them.
To somebody. What can I do for you?
So we've inherited quite a few photos, family photos, very old ones in many cases, from a number of different people, relatives and people that passed away and all. I just bought an Epson fast photo high-speed scanner.
Excellent.
And so the other night I scanned 900 photos.
Oh.
And I put them on and it's cool because it is wireless scanning to the PC. And so I have them all on my hard drive, and I thought, well, okay, what do I do with them now? So I created a Flickr account and, just to test it out, see if it would work, the free personal one. And I've ran into some limitations with that where I could create an archive or like a group of photos as an archive, and I can share it out to people, but I can't nest them. And my goal was to be able to take photos that say, I got this from this batch of photos, send out a link to the family members and say, if you want some of these photos before we shred them or burn them or whatever we do with them, let us know because we'll mail them to you because we want people to be able to get these very old photos.
Here's what I would
cart them around for life.
Here's what I would suggest. I don't know about the nesting and all of that. Do you want to show some photos to some people and not to other people? Is that why you want to do that?
Well, I wanted to be able to go to all the family members, but mainly nesting was so we can know what source. The shoebox, so to speak, to find the old photos in.
Well, you could certainly do that with tagging. Here's what I would recommend, and this is actually what I do. There are photo printing sites where they will store all these photos for free. And then you can tell these people, if you want to print it because it's there and you don't have to even bother with it. They'll mail it, they'll print it, they'll do the whole thing. My recommendation is Shutterfly. They do a very nice job of printing. And by the way, people could make holiday cards or coffee cups or mouse pads, whatever they want, but it's at their expense. You don't even have to handle it. And it's free for you to store an infinite number of photos there.
Oh, cool.
So that way you send them the link. Here's the family album. You can have multiple albums if you want. And certainly you can do tags. And the fast photo will let you do that. It'll say, as you're scanning, you say, this batch is from box 32, and it'll put that in what they call the EXIF information, the extended information in the image. It's not visible on the image, but if you use a program that can look at JPEGs, for instance, it'll tell you what the EXIF is. So it's very easy to sort it with a variety of tools.
I think I could even change the prefix as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you could do it in the file name, actually. Yeah, why not do that? The fast photo will do that too. So you can you can have an indexed file name. In any event, posting it on Shutterfly has a great, it's free, and then you just put it on them. You want to print? Good. I'm not going to, unless you want to print them and mail them.
No, and that was my thinking is that, it'd be great for them to have them online so they could download them, store them, or print them.
Exactly.
As long as you can download them from Shutterfly, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Google Photos also does that. Actually, Apple stopped doing the printing. They used to do printing. Now they outsource it. But Google Photos do it. I like Shutterfly because then I put all the family photos there. I say, knock yourself out. It's not expensive. I think it's 13 cents for a print. It's not expensive. They can get all the prints they need. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Why would you call me out like that, Leo?
Who's this old guy? I never heard of Mary Tyler, whatever. Forget Mary Tyler. Do you mind? I'm sorry. That was it's just cute because young people, why would you know? Why would you know? You don't know who Ed Asner was, do you, Chris?
No.
Oh, yeah. You know what? A whole new generation. The old man up looked like Ed Asner. Yeah.
And I've never heard of him.
Never heard of him. How about Mary Tyler Moore Show? Were they big in Germany? Was that big in Germany? No.
I don't think so.
See, there you go.
But I'm also not a big TV viewer. So
what is that show that they show every Christmas?
I'm the wrong person.
There's a Christmas show that they show.
Oh, the 90th birthday. It's a German thing.
Yeah.
Don't know.
So everybody knows that show. And if somebody from that died, it'd be a big deal. It's an English, isn't it? Like British or something?
They are not alive anymore.
Yeah, so that's
They were old when this.
They were
was
old back then.
Years ago.
Dinner for One, the 90th birthday.
Dinner for One, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't 100% get why Germans love it so much.
It's
as a kid, I was funny, but after that, it became old.
Yeah, it's really old, but it's traditional New Year's Eve in many nations, actually.
It's probably I'm gonna tick off quite a few German listeners, but it's probably the very strange German sense of humor.
Yeah. Well,
likely
every country has this. So in England, they have pantomime. They have these crazy Christmas shows that are.
I never managed to watch one of them.
Awful.
I always wanted to see one.
They're awful. They're horrible. They're terrible. But because you grew up with it, it's a tradition.
I mean, isn't it the same with food? There's so many acquired tastes, no matter where you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There's local stuff.
Exactly.
And sure.
Yeah. Every country has, its thing.
Yes.
And
now they're posting Dinner for One on the Discord.
Dinner for One. Yeah. I've never seen it. I guess I should watch it.
Well, go watch it, and then
is it
only a bit more about what makes Germans tick.
It really is.
It's English.
It really is.
It's a British. It's a British thing.
Right? It's a comedy.
It's British.
British comedy. Speaking of photos, it's time for our photo guy, Chris Marquardt. He's my personal photo sensei at sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo. That's where he does coaching and classes. He's also going to do workshops. And I got some good news from my wife. She says, as soon as we can go on a Chris Marquardt photo workshop, we're going. as soon as I want to go to Bhutan, he goes all over the world. I don't think she wants Svalbard, the one where you go in the ice boat up to the North Pole. That sounds chilly.
It's not that bad.
Anyway.
No, it's not. It's fun. It's fun.
Find out more at sensei.photo. Of course, Tips from the Top Floor. His podcast is legend amongst photographers, and he joins us each week to inspire us. What are you inspiring us with this week, Chris?
Well, I thought we could talk about the one thing that photography is all about and that we've talked about a million times before, but maybe not from this angle, and that is light. Light in general is what photography is about. And light itself, I mean, it has a direction, it has a size, it has a color, it has all different properties. But the one thing that you often don't really get to see is the light itself. And, there's a light source, yes. There's something that gets hit by the light, so you see that. But the light itself isn't that visible unless you make it visible. And what I'm talking about is called volumetric light.
Volumetric light. Okay.
When light has volume, and there's different ways to get that. And let me just show a few photos here.
Ooh, this is pretty.
This is a picture of a chess piece. It's been lit by a beam of light, and you can see the beam of light, not just the light on the chess piece. And of course, that's what you do when you put something in the air that gets lit up. In this case, smoke, little particles, and those particles get lit up by the light as it crosses through the room, and then you get to see the light itself. And smoke, mist. Mist is a great one. If it's misty outside and the sun is out, then you end up with sunbeams. And
so the volume in this case is the sunbeams, is the light getting caught by the mist, and it actually makes the light have volume, have size.
By the tiny little particles in the mist, the little water particles in mist, they give the light shape, volume, color, all that stuff that you usually only see the end result normally by the light hitting a tree or something. But in this case, on the way to the tree, it hits all these little particles and lights them up. So
nice.
Mist, fog. Again, if you see mist out and sun, beautiful. I love this in nature when you have the sun grazing the side of a mountain and you end up with these, almost like these I call them God rays when it comes to the clouds, and you have mist in the air, and then you end up with these with the light shining from up above. Works well in the dark as well. So at night, when you have light sources, here is a beautiful picture of a gas station of
who would have thought
things, and
a beautiful picture of a gas station. Who would have thought?
Yes, this is a super tidy picture, right? There's nothing on it apart from the roof and the car under it, and light shining down on the car. But not just the light is shining down. You can see around the light sources. You get this bloom of light, right? It fills the air, and it gives it shape. Here's an example of a person walking at night with light coming from street lights. And the reason I like this a lot is, well, first of all, again, you have volume in the light. And the second thing is that person is right in between two street lights. So the person is in the dark, and that creates this beautiful silhouette and gives you that feeling of loneliness, right? Doesn't really
it's just one guy
it's a moody
light.
night picture.
Yeah.
If you end up with like very strong light sources and very strong fog, this is a person walking on some sort of a bridge or a pier or something, then you end up with even stronger, well, in this case, balls of light, and they are not just are they there, they also carry the color of the light, and this is probably some yellowish light sources, and so the light balls are yellowish. If you look in science, like in a laboratory with lasers, they usually have a fog machine, so that makes the laser beams visible. Of course, that works well in entertainment. Laser shows would not be any fun without a foggy air. So That's as soon as you want to make the light visible in an indoor setting where you need some more control, you would use a fog machine. That's what those fog machines are for in stage settings. So musicians on stage, you'll always have fog there because it gives the light volume. So the person who does the light show has something to work with and can show that light. That's accentuated by putting special little things in front of the light that give the light its shape and its beams and things. There's no end in sight. If you work in that field, you know that a fog machine is probably the most essential thing that you would use. Here's another example of light getting a shape, but it's not from any particles in the air. In this case, it's from the lens. If you have a light source that shines straight into the lens, and there are reflections of light in the lens going back and forth between the different layers of glass in the lens. So, with depending on the lens that you have, you might end up with the light getting going beyond what you would expect it to. So it blooms out. That's called a lens bloom. If you shoot film, there's specific film that does that. There's film that's called aura film, which will have light around light sources kind of extending into the dark of the picture. So that's another thing that you can do. And of course, you can move a light source. That gives it volume too. No particles required there. That's a fairground ride that moves with a long exposure, and then you end up with interesting light streaks. And last but not least, you can, of course, just take a light source and move it in front of a camera that has a long exposure going on several seconds and just do light painting. You just paint into the dark and you end up with interesting shapes. So
beautiful.
That's pretty much
beautiful.
Volumetric light in all its different incarnations. I'm a fan of that because it really makes light physical and very touchable. So
if you get up early in the morning, you can get the morning mist, and you get some amazing shots.
If the sun comes up, you get nice light streaks in there. Yeah. So
if you never dust in the house, just the light beams, the motes of dust get lit up. It's beautiful.
You can start smoking, that would help.
I'll pick up smoking, all sorts of ways to make it happen. I'll put the link to Chris's gallery of photos in our show notes at techguylabs.com. They're quite beautiful. Chris puts these together for us on Flickr, the photo sharing site. Well, there's another reason we use Flickr. We love Flickr. We have a group there called the Tech Guy Group, and that's where we invite you to submit your entries for our monthly photo assignment. Not a competition. There's no prize. It's just an excuse to get out there and take photos. What's our assignment this month, Chris?
Messy. We're looking for tidy pictures of messy things.
It's a lot easier than tidy was. That was last month's assignment. Messy is easy to find. So take a picture. We're not going to tell you what that means, but take a picture of something that illustrates the concept of the word messy. If you find one you like, upload it to Flickr. Tag it TG Messy, MESSY. Soccer fans may be tempted to put an I at the end. No, it's a Y, MESSY. And you can upload as many as one photo every week. Renee Silverman, our moderator, will accept you. And about 3 weeks from now, Chris will pick 3 of those photos that best exemplify messy and talk about them on the show. Find Chris Marquardt at sensei.photo and here every week. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me.
Messy. Thank you, sir. Good. Those are beautiful. Wow. Love that. Love that stuff. Inspirational.
Great.
How are you enjoying glass?
Yes, I'm still posting photos.
I really love the images.
Interacting.
People are trying to be arty. So there's great images. I'm really enjoying
a lot of very ambitious photography.
Yeah.
Lots of self-editing on there, which I like. I'm also really happy that it doesn't have a like button for the photos.
No
Even
likes.
Though that's your first impulse would be, oh, let me press like, and then that's kind of the easy way out. But if you really like a photo, then you'll have to
leave a comment,
put a bit of effort in commenting. Yeah, and it's pretty cool.
And I love it that you get all the EXIF information, so you kind of know what the photo was.
Everything's in there.
And people are just
so simple. It's so
it's very
clean,
pretty. No ads. Love it. Glass.photo.
I want rotation, 90-degree rotation. That's what I'm.
Yeah, there's a few issues because sometimes you don't.
They're minor.
You don't get the whole photo. I also I feel like there should be a web interface and an Android app and things like that. But
you can share them to the web. There's a web interface as you can share your photos out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
opens up a web page. Yes, that's possible.
Okay. Good.
So, but there's no browsing interface on the web, unfortunately.
It's nice though to have a photo app that's just beautiful photos. I'm really enjoying it.
Just about photography, yes.
So sometimes they open up like that, and you have to squish them. Which is
that's I think they are they are obviously still growing. So for now I'm happy with what they do, and I know they will improve.
The other problem I have is just simply discovery, because it's you have to periodically go through all these new people and say, let me see what kind of images.
Well, how I find photographers on there is by looking at the ones that I find interesting and looking who they follow.
Yes.
The good old way of
follow their followers.
Of discovery.
Yeah.
Because you typically have people following other people that have a similar style because it gels with them. So
that's right.
That for me, this way I found a lot of really great unknown photographers.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it just shows you there's such great photography work being done out there.
Yes.
And a lot of these people are pros, but a lot of them are inspired amateurs, so it's a good mix.
Yeah, and I wish them the best of luck. I mean, I sure hope they will thrive, and I'm doing my part by I've done a 1-year membership right away.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. That's
because it's worth supporting these kind of efforts.
See if I can find Chris Marquart on here. You can follow him too.
You can search.
Oh yeah, that's right.
If you go to that. Oh, there I am. Yes.
All right, Chris. Have a great evening, and talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me. See you in a week. Take care.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask. Leo, the phone number, if you want to talk high tech, I'm here for you. Let's do it. I'm your tech guy. Let's go to New York City. Brian is on the line. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. So I wanted to put a plug in for you to go to Svalbard, man. I went there. It's not really anything to do with tech, but it's just such a beautiful place.
Yeah, Chris has when he was doing workshops, of course that's been put on hold due to COVID, but would go there at least every year, and they had a really neat expedition. They'd take a sailing boat, a wooden sailing boat, and sail up there. Svalbard is as close as you can get easily to the North Pole, and it's actually not owned by any country. Anybody can go up there, right? But I would go. It's just I think my wife doesn't want to be that cold. But I would go.
Well, it's cold. I don't know. This might have been the year that they broke 60 degrees or something.
Oh, yeah, that's true. If it's been getting warmer. Sure, now's the time to go, absolutely. Yeah. Were you up there on a vacation, or what brought you up there?
I don't really do it anymore, but I used to like to go snowmobiling in all kinds of wild places.
Fun.
And one time it was Svalbard in April.
Oh, so, spring in Svalbard. It's only 20 below. No, I've actually always wanted to go to Svalbard. And there is a tech angle, because that's near where the seed bank is. And so I would like to see that at some point. I don't suppose you can go in, but there's an effort to save seeds of all kinds. Norway's doing this, of all kinds, in a underground global seed vault in Svalbard, a secure facility, so that these seeds, which may be going extinct, these crops, at least will be preserved long term in these banks, in this bank up in Svalbard. It's an interesting place to put it. What can I do for you today?
was all. I was just trying to. I just give you a comment. I really don't have a tech question, but I listened to you. I don't know, since Tech TV.
Thank you.
A long time.
Chris likes to go, that's why I want to go on these expeditions with him. He does these wonderful photo expeditions. And of course, he likes to go to challenging, interesting places. He'll do workshops, down the street. In fact, he's done many in New York. But I think he also likes to go to places that are very interesting. And boy, Svalbard is interesting. He also goes to Siberia. He likes cold for some reason.
Yeah, that's kind of me too.
Yeah, I like warm. I'm just a warm guy. Hey, Brian, nice to talk to you. Guess what? Another call from New York. New York. Jeffrey's on the line. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hey, how you doing today,
I'm
Leo?
well. Welcome.
Great. Love your show. Second call, you gave me advice on an outdoor TV.
Did you get one?
Yeah, I got the cover for it.
Yeah, that's, I think, a better idea. Then you get a nice TV. Yeah. And you get a nice cover, and it's less expensive doing that, I think.
Yeah, and it's lasted 2 years now with the
Beautiful.
winters and the summers here. So
Beautiful.
Thank you for the one.
Good.
Thank you. My quick question for you. Oh, by the way, some people might know Ed Asner. He was in the latest episodes of Cobra Kai. He played Johnny's father.
People have been telling me that. That's, of course, the YouTube hit that's the sequel to The Karate Kid. What is it, 20 years later, something like that? Yeah. I've been a huge fan, as all of us have, of Ed Asner. So we're very sad to lose him. But
he also did an episode of CSI New York too. He played a Nazi.
I love it. He kept working, which is amazing. Yeah, into his 90s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So really quick, my question is, one of my companies, I just left the company, and they all, everyone left. They don't even answer the phone anymore. But make a long story short, they let me keep the iPad Pro. The only thing is it's locked with Microsoft Intune. And I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. Any ideas?
Actually, I think that's good news. You could lock it with Apple, and then you would have to get them to deactivate it. But Intune, which is Microsoft's management tool, I think you can probably unenroll it. Let me look here, though. So they use this for management. The company used it for management. I think the easiest thing to do to get rid of it, it requires a certificate to support Apple's MDM, mobile device management. So the easiest way to get rid of it would be to go into your settings, and you'll see there is a list of certificates that are installed in that iPad, and delete that one. Delete the MDM certificate for Intune, and then delete the app. And I think at that point, it will be disconnected from them. Can you log into it? Can you get into the device?
Well, here's the problem. I goofed because I was able to get in wherever you're telling me, but then when I had it plugged into iTunes or whatever they call it now, it did the update with the software, and now it doesn't go past the Microsoft Intune screen. So I brought it to a guy in the mall, and he said they could spend $100 and change the motherboard or something.
No. Oh, goodness gracious. Try, there's something on iOS devices called a DFU. So there's several levels of reset on these devices. You can press and hold the screen on/off button and the volume up button, or maybe it's the volume down, or sometimes it's you press up, down, and then press. Anyway, you can reset it, you can reboot it. But what you probably want on this is the DFU, or device firmware upgrade mode, which will allow the device to be restored to factory state. Again, if Apple had done this, it would be more problematic because Apple has these activation locks that basically keep the original, unless the original owner releases the iPhone or the iPad, nobody else can install on it. You have to get them to release it to log out of Find My iPhone, and you might even need their iCloud password and so forth. I think with Intune, you're probably not going to have that kind of difficulty. Try DFU mode. Now, I would tell you how to do it, but it's different for every iPad, and frankly, timing is critical. You have to do this for 10 seconds and do that for 5 and so forth. So just Google that particular model of iPad, and DFU. And iMore is one of the publications that does this, but there'll be videos on YouTube that you'll follow along to get the timing exactly right. And you put it into DFU mode, and you know it's in DFU mode because it will then say, connect this iPad to iTunes. And you have to plug it into the computer, and then it will download and restore that iPad with the factory firmware, and it should be clean and good to go. Now, it's a complete fresh start.
Right.
But that's okay, right?
Yeah, there was nothing stored on it. They let us keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So if you can't remove the cert, it's too late now. Yeah, if you had before when you were able to use it, removed the cert, then uninstalled Intune, I think you'd be okay. But now it's Intune saying, come on, I need the login. Come on, what's the IT department saying? If you can't get the IT department to give you that, try a DFU. You should be able to recover it. And then it's a factory fresh anyway, which is what you want.
Perfect. I'll go Google it right now.
Yeah. My pleasure. It's great to talk to you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Our show today, and stay cool because I know it's been pretty toasty in the Big Apple of late. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones. We've got your smart watches. We can talk about any kind of technology. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We got some lines open. I think, I've been listening to the news. I think we're being preempted in a lot of markets right now because of the Hurricane Ida hitting Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama right now, and just terrible. So please stay safe if you listen down there. I know a lot of our stations up and down the network are going to live coverage of that hurricane. Good time to call, 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Yeah. It's scary when these things happen, and I know our focus shifts. Technology is just the toy store, isn't it, really, in the long run? It's just the fun stuff. Good news for Microsoft Windows users. A lot of people very upset when Microsoft said, Windows 11's not for you. If you have an older PC, if you don't have Intel's trusted platform module on your PC, you won't be able to run Windows 11. It was very upsetting to people because you had to have an 8th gen Intel processor or more recent, which ruled out anybody who bought a computer more than a few years ago. Well, some interesting news from Microsoft. They're backing down a little bit. This comes from Tom Warren at The Verge. Microsoft said, we will not block you from installing Windows 11 on those older PCs. However, there's some couple of catches. First of all, if you're running Windows 10 on those older PCs, you will not have the automatic free upgrade available to you that more modern PCs will. There won't be an upgrade path to Windows 11 through Windows Update. You'll have to download Windows 11 and install it manually. Yeesh. And this, I think this may change. It's unclear. Microsoft didn't mention this at the briefing, but it later came out that systems that are upgraded this way to Windows 11 will not receive security updates. Now, that would be a very strong reason not to get Windows 11. I do not recommend running any operating system without security updates, especially Windows. Tom Warren at The Verge writes, we're asking Microsoft for clarification on that. But this might be some good news if you've really wanted to run Windows 11. That's my take on this is when Microsoft was sitting down saying, okay, we're going to show Windows 11. What's new? Well, nothing really. It's just the operating system has a new skin, a new look. We're going to have rounded corners. That's what's new. Rounded corners. And we're going to center the start menu, which was on the left. We're going to move that to the middle. How about that? And I think that at that point, probably some executives said, people are going to be upset about that. They don't want you to move the start menu to the middle. They don't care about rounded corners. Are you going to improve Windows? No. We're not touching anything under the hood. It's just a new look. Well, I can just see the social media posts this executive says saying, I don't want Windows 11. Who wants Windows 11? Oh, we figured that out. We'll say you can't have Windows 11. Oh. Then everybody will post, but I want Windows 11. It's like a toddler. You just tell a toddler, if you want them to eat their broccoli, say, no broccoli. You can't have it. It's too good. Windows 11, you can't have it. Oh, I got to have it now. And then the executive said, yeah, but we want these people to be using Windows 11. Oh, don't worry, boss. A couple months later, we'll say, oh, you can have it after all. By the time this is all said and done, everybody will have Windows 11. And you will have a centered start menu and rounded corners, whether you like it or not. So that's, if you've been worried, we were talking about this a little bit. People were a little upset that they couldn't upgrade to Windows 11. See, the strategy worked. Can't have that broccoli. Oh, I want it. Oh, good news. Now you can have your broccoli. Thank you, Microsoft. 8888 asks, Leo, website techguylabs.com. Paul's on the line from Columbus, Ohio. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay. Home of Jenny's ice cream, if you don't remember.
Oh, yes. And someday, Jenny and I will get together, and I will try her ice cream. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I think you got it as a gift from somebody once. But anyway.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. I did. Was that you?
I had to call it. No. I wished it would have been, but somebody beat me to it.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
But it is really good stuff. Anyway, so I don't get lost here in commercials or something, I've got an iMac 5K 27-inch. Was May of 15.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I haven't used the Mac side for a while.
You just use it as a Windows machine?
I was using it as a Windows.
Interesting.
And it's great.
Yeah, Walt Mossberg at the Wall Street Journal very famously said the best Windows PC you can buy is a Mac.
Exactly. Well, I'm visually impaired, and I was trying to do something with it when I just as a Mac with parallels and whatever, and I couldn't get my accessibility stuff to work.
Yeah.
So I went over to Windows 10 and I made a 250 gigahertz partition for the Mac side. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what to do with a few things, and maybe I want to go back more to the Mac and use the voiceover on the computer since I'm used to it on my iPhone, but it's more complicated. Anyway, I've got 8 megs of RAM, and I think I'd like to upgrade that, and that probably wouldn't be really expensive. But I'm thinking this is a 6-year-old machine, okay? And if I think somebody's asked you this before, I don't think there's any way to be able to just use that. Let's say I got a Mini, and I wanted to use that as the monitor. As long as it's working, is there a way to do it?
That machine is old enough you might be able to. Older Macs had something called target monitor mode.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
And so you could, and I can't remember if the 2015s were able to do that. But if they are, then you can go into target monitor mode and use that older iMac as an external display. The newer Macs do not. I know that. And I think it's only, let me just see which Mac models. They stopped in 2014.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
It's a gorgeous monitor. It's the one thing I got.
It really is. Yeah. And it's one of the reasons I've kind of soured on this all-in-one idea. It's nice for the desk because it's one wire, you plug it in and all that. But when the machine gets old, the CPU and the motherboard and the RAM and all that get older faster than the monitor. That monitor is really, really good and still really, really good.
Yeah.
But now it's tied to an old computer, so it's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it going as long as possible. And I thought that, adding another 8 megs of RAM gigs of RAM would help too.
It would. And by the way, there's another reason to keep it. You can update Windows on that thing, and it's going to be a pretty good Windows machine. You probably can't go to Windows 11, ironically.
Yeah.
But the newer machines do not run Boot Camp. Apple, there's no Boot Camp for the M1 and later machines, the ones running on Apple Silicon. So you'd have to use Parallels. You wouldn't be able to use it. And even when you use Parallels, you have to use Windows on ARM, which is buggy. Yeah. So it's not a very good Windows experience on the modern Macs. Probably that was Apple's design.
Do you think, do you think there's any likelihood somebody else is going to come up with something better to be able to run Windows stuff on the newer Macs?
Probably not. I mean, honestly, if you want to keep using Windows, you're probably going to get a Lenovo or a Dell or get a PC.
Right. I had Dell gateways and then Dells for years, so it wouldn't be a big deal to go back.
Yeah, but then you can't go the other way because no PC will run on Mac OS. You have to buy it from Apple to run Mac OS. So yeah, they kind of got you. I mean, Apple. Look, it's in Apple's interest that they lock you into iOS, iPad OS, and Mac OS. They want you to just live la vida Apple. And it's clear now because they don't want to support Windows. They did Boot Camp because they had to, because Windows was so dominant. Apple and Mac were so, second place that they had to. But I think they now feel like, we don't have to anymore. And they might be right. So as soon as they don't have to, they're not going to support Windows. That's for sure. They do it kicking and screaming.
Yeah, congratulations on your discussion with the gentleman about the tracking app for the COVID.
Oh goodness, yes. I have to correct myself because I said I haven't heard anything from California yet, but I just got this new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3. Boy, that's a long name. The new Galaxy flip phone. And as soon as I turned it on, it said, California said, oh, you want to turn on COVID notifications? Of course, I said yes. But I've yet to get a COVID notification from anybody anywhere. So he was very paranoid that this was the state spying on us. And unfortunately, so are Apple and Google. And so they built in such privacy protections in this stuff that just doesn't do anything. It's useless. So unfortunately, because I think right now it would be really good to know if you had encountered somebody with a Delta variant. It'd be really good.
For sure.
Really useful. Well, you stay well, Paul. Keep that 2015 iMac. If it's easy to put in more RAM, certainly that would keep it a little bit more alive.
The thing there I ever saw, it's got a little
hole
on the back.
Yeah, a little port.
Yeah.
And if you feel ambitious, it's not as easy, but putting an SSD in there instead of the Fusion drive would also improve speed. And that's a decent processor. That thing should go for a long time.
Could use a external drive for that.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah.
Oh, and I got I think I talked to you since I got it, but I got the fast photo scanner.
Oh, good.
Can't wait. Yeah, I talked to you about it because I was having problems connecting it.
Good. Well, I just talked you. I don't know if you heard. Just talked to somebody who did. What did he say? 900 photos in a morning. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
My daughter and I are getting ready to do a whole pile here. So
Epson no longer sponsors the show.
I know.
So I can't. I don't get any credit for it, but I still think it's a good scanner. So enjoy it.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Thank you, Paul. Have a good one yourself. Yeah, they sponsor the other computer show, not me. I don't know why. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's go to Piscataway. I hear that all the time. Mike B is on the line, my dear friend, our regular chatter. Hello, Mike B.
Hello, Leo.
How are things in Piscataway? I like saying that, Piscataway.
Everything's great in Piscataway.
Is this new? Did you move? Because weren't you in Hoboken before?
No, I worked in Hoboken many years ago, but no.
Okay.
Lived in Piscataway for about 16 years at this point.
What can I do for you, Mike?
So, first of all, you were talking about area codes at the top of the show. I actually grew up in America's first area code, 201.
201?
Yep. Because AT&T was based out of New Jersey way back in the old AT&T days.
Oh.
So 201 was New Jersey, and then 202 was Washington, D.C.
Mike, are you old enough to remember dials?
Oh, sure. We had. My mom did not want to go to push button dialing until I had to switch to it for work. So we had rotary phones and pulse until about 2001.
They don't actually remember having a call a couple of years ago from a woman who got an old phone that had a dial, and she couldn't get it to work because no phone system understands those pulse code tones anymore.
In the old Hayes modem days, I had to set it to do ATDP.
Oh, pulse.
Before doing the dial. So, yeah, I'm old.
The reason I ask, because in the original days of when they started rolling out these area codes, the prime area codes had 1 in the middle because 1 is short. So 213 is a good one because it's 2, it's 1, it's 3. Anything with a 0 in it, you're in the sticks because...
Well, actually, all area codes used to either have a 0 or 1 in the middle.
Right.
It's relatively recent. It was actually something my COBOL teacher, like I said.
Yeah, the ones were good. Those were the premium.
So you were talking about Windows 11. So
yes.
In watching Microsoft's very bad keynote on Windows 11, one of the things that they really pushed was the idea that you can play Xbox games on Windows 11. So you have Microsoft with Xbox Cloud. You have Sony with its whatever it's called, the PlayStation Now or whatever.
Yep. They bought Gaikai, right?
Yep, and you have Stadia. So my question is, these consoles, they were always loss leaders. They sold the hardware at a loss, and then they made it up
in the games, $60 a piece. Yep.
So my question for you is, and want your opinion, is console gaming on its deathbed?
Well, ask a console gamer; they'll say, "Perish the thought." But you have to wonder. It takes about the release of consoles is almost a decade. They're almost a decade apart before you get a whole new model. So you got to wonder, 10 years from now, is there going to be a successor to the Xbox and the PlayStation? Will there be a PS6? I don't know. You're right. Cloud gaming is for many the future. But I tell you, anybody who plays especially consoles or PCs and they want that experience, they're going to say, no. Latency on the internet and other problems are going to mean it's never quite as good as the local hardware. So serious gamers will keep this stuff alive. And I have to say, Sony has reported incredible numbers for PlayStation 5 sales. There's no evidence that the console market is in any way less than super strong. So I don't know. You know what I think we might see, though, is the end of PCs. Except for gaming. Maybe gaming will keep it around. But, Mike, I'm kind of thinking with Windows virtualized as well, Microsoft now offers Windows 365. It's a little expensive right now, but if they get the price down, you could run Windows on anything, an iPad, a Chromebook, anything you can get online with. It may be that PCs themselves days are numbered, except for specialty uses.
Well, wasn't it Larry Ellison back in like 1997, 1998 talked about thin client computing?
Yep.
So basically, I mean, he was
way ahead of his time.
But basically has been proven right, and we are moving into that direction.
I think we are. And it may be with gaming, and I think one of the reasons companies like Microsoft are trying this, and Google, is because they want to almost I'm sorry, wasn't talking to you. They almost want to demonstrate that they're capable of doing this with one of the most demanding PC applications, gaming. If they can do it with gaming, they can do it with anything. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Nice to talk to you, Mike.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. 0. First motion.
And there goes the Astra rocket. Completely sideways. It's not pointing. It's still pointing up. It's just edging along sideways. Rod Pyle's on the line. He's our space guy, editor-in-chief of Ad Astra, space.nss.org, author of many great books about space. Hello, Rod.
Hey, how are you?
What happened?
So Astra's this small startup, one of many small rocket startups that were targeting the small sat market, so little payloads. And they're about 5 years old. This is their third attempt. They haven't made it to orbit yet. And they've got a 5-engine liquid-fueled rocket that's about 43 foot tall. And the moment of ignition looked fine, and then it lifted up off the pad. And for those who weren't watching you on video, started just literally pointing straight up and down, walking sideways off the launch pad for probably a good 20 feet, and then finally started going vertical.
Okay, I have never seen that happen. I shouldn't laugh because I know it's heartbreaking for the guys. And look, this stuff is hard. This is only their third launch. They're still learning. So, no harm, no foul. You learn from this stuff. But still, I've never seen that. What happened?
So at first when I saw it, I thought, okay, one of the hold downs or one of the fueling pipes must have stayed attached. But it turns out that wasn't it. right at the moment of ignition, one of the 5 small engines failed, and it only had enough thrust to stay in the air but not go up. And until some of the fuel was burned off, and then finally it was able to start ascending. So it went up for about 2.5 minutes, but then at 20 miles, something flew off the bottom. You can see it in the launch coverage if you watch it. It's under Astra rocket, A-S-T-R-A. Good name. And
yeah, great name.
Fell
it means
off
star in Latin, so it's
so they had to push the destruct button. But although it was a Department of Defense payload, it was just a test unit, so it was basically just a block of mass that would have been the same as their satellite.
No people were hurt. Although this is scary. If a rocket fell over and went straight ahead, it could do a lot of damage.
Well, it could, but it's in Kodiak Island, Alaska, so what are you going to hit?
Okay.
You might take out a bison or something. So that was the small rocket news.
It's
and
fine,
like
unless
I said,
you're a bison, you might not be too happy
well,
about
then
it.
you'd be kind of upset about that.
Yeah. Why are they shooting rockets at me? So, is this, I'm looking at a tweet from Chris Kemp of Astra reviewing flight data and video. 2 things are very clear. An engine shut down right after launch. Everything that happened made me incredibly proud of our team. Space may be hard, but like this rocket, we're not giving up. So
yeah,
good for them.
And they'll get there, you know. And there's a lot of these smaller launch companies coming up, and not all of them are going to make it because, you know, once SpaceX presumably gets Starship flying, unless you have to put a small payload up very quickly into a specific spot, which is why the DoD is interested in it and Space Force is interested in it, you're just going to go with one of the bigger ride shares. But there's more news this week.
What else is news in space?
You know, I every week it seems like we're talking about Musk and Bezos, or at least one of them, and I want to start getting back to some real rocket talk and some historical stuff eventually. But you know, Bezos is just suing his way into the rocket business. It's driving people in the trade crazy.
Okay, so Microsoft, I'm sorry, not Microsoft.
Blue Origin.
Blue Origin, which is Bezos' space company, is in head-to-head competition, he thinks, with SpaceX.
Right.
Except they're not.
Well,
right?
I mean,
if
they're
you
not
can't win in
on
the
hardware
if you
yet,
can't
they're
win
competing in the courtroom.
Yeah, but if you can't win in technology, if you can't win in the market, what's the next refuge? The refuge of scoundrels. You sue them. I think it's shameful, honestly.
Yeah, I do too. And as Musk tweeted, he said, turns out Bezos retired in order to pursue a full-time job filing lawsuits against SpaceX, which isn't quite true.
So what's the lawsuit this time? What do they want that NASA contract?
This is continuing to sue NASA to say, look, you promised you were going to award at least 2 contracts for this lunar lander.
Well, that's true. That's not wrong.
Our share. Well, yeah, they made a commitment, but is it legally binding? That's the question. And they didn't get enough money to Congress, as we've talked about, to buy 2 contracts. So they bought one for SpaceX and said, look, we intend to encourage competition in the space. We'll get back to you guys in a year or 2. But Bezos just isn't having it. So he filed again in a different court. And this has succeeded in stalling the Artemis return to the moon program for another couple of months until November 1. Then there's legal arguments that'll be going on, and then we'll see what happens.
But what this does is it slows development of the Starship down, right? It's going to take months.
It slows NASA's Artemis program down, which is struggling to try and get to the moon by 2024, 25. And all that time that they got to sit on their hands waiting it out cost the taxpayers a fortune because all that stuff's sitting there. So, for instance, stuff like the solid rocket boosters that are stacked up for the SLS rocket, which is supposed to be taking up those first couple of Artemis flights, those have a limited life. And if they sit there more than 9 or 12 months, they have to be destacked and refurbished. That's really expensive. So there's a long-term cost to all this.
You know, I think about my good friend, the late Jerry Pournelle, science fiction author.
Yeah.
Great guy, and a big supporter of citizen space, of commercial space development. He said, no, it's the only way it's going to happen. The government can't do it. He was kind of an anti-government guy anyway. You got to but I think what he underestimated Admittedly, NASA moves more slowly. Government procurement is tough. Congress doesn't give them enough money. But nobody thought about, and if it's commercial entities, they're going to sue the pants off each other. Nobody thought about that part.
No, none of us did. And there's another.
That's not how to compete. Let's not compete that way. That's terrible. But that's what they do. In fact, Amazon's suing Microsoft over an NSA contract. I mean, it's just what they do now.
And I was going to mention something just like that. Amazon is also now lobbying the FCC to deny some new licensing changes that SpaceX wants for Starlink.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're saying, well, you can't change, and again, you can't change the rules after they've been issued. And SpaceX is saying, look, yes, there are corporate reasons for this, but it'll also offer better coverage because we'll be covering different orbits than we were planning to because we learn as we go.
There was something to be said for the NASA way of doing things. I like the commercial government partnerships. We've done a lot more than we would have done without the commercial entities. But this lawsuit thing, that's problematic.
It's just got to stop. I mean, that's not where to compete. Start putting some machines up into space other than your tourist rocket and start getting things done. Now, apparently, Amazon's going to launch their own constellation, of course, of broadband satellites starting in 2023. But they're talking about roughly 3,000. They call it the Kuiper system, which is named after some deep solar system objects out beyond Pluto, which is great. It'll be good to have a competing system, so it's not just Starlink. But again, let's just put the stuff up there. Don't start by rattling your saber and threatening lawsuits. But there is some good news this week. How much time do we have left?
We got about a minute.
Okay. James Webb Telescope has passed its final checks.
The Hubble replacement.
And it's going to soon be shipped through the Panama Canal down to Karur,
I'd
French
like
Guiana.
to see that.
Karoo, excuse me.
It's huge, is it? Is it Philip?
It's massive.
Oh, I'd love to see
I haven't seen it with the mirrors unfurled. I've seen it with the mirrors folded up, but it is massive. It's going to have about a 21-foot wide mirror, which is almost three times the diameter of the Hubble, and it will be working in infrared. So you can see much further because it can see through. Hubble's mostly visible in ultraviolet wavelengths. So in infrared, you can see past all the dust and the junk that's out in the deeper parts of the universe and really start looking back at the very edge, the beginning of time, which is very promising. And it's going to be parked what they call Earth-Sun L2 or Lagrange 2, which is a stable point out beyond Earth's orbit. So it'll be in the Earth's shadow all the time. So between that and the natural cooling it's got and the artificial cooling it's got sunshades that pop up, hopefully, you'll be able to start really answering some of these very basic questions about the beginning of the universe.
So exciting. Yeah. So exciting.
So later this year or early next year is the launch.
Rod Pyle, spaceman at Astras at space.nss.org. Thanks, Rod.
Thank you.
So this thing is so big they can't put it on a truck. They're going to put it on a boat. Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a monster.
That's so exciting.
I mean, the thing that was great about Hubble, even though it had problems, it was just a big tube. All you had to do was get the solar panels out, and it was launched by the shuttle, so you could make sure that happened before you deployed it. This one has got to go out and do all that stuff all by itself. So the mirror has to assemble itself on hinges.
Look at those mirrors. Wow.
And then I think there's 5 or 6 sheets of capped-down curtains that have to unroll below it. So there's a lot of moving parts in this thing, which is what took so long to get it tested and ready to go.
Oh, it's exciting. When does it launch?
Well, they're hoping December or January.
Of this year?
A French Ariane rocket.
Oh,
yeah.
It's soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Oh,
and,
exciting.
It'll take a couple of months to get it out there and get it deployed.
Where's it going to launch from?
Karoo, French Guiana.
Oh, yeah.
It's going on the European
That's
route.
right. I forgot. That's where the Europeans launch from. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fun to go down and watch that.
Take a trip to the tropics and go down and take a watch. But I'm going to save my nickels for that first real Starship or SLS launch.
Oh,
that's the one we got to go see.
Yep. Maybe I'll be there with you.
That'll be fun.
What year do you think that'll be?
SLS should launch next year.
Wow.
Maybe. Starship, it's fun to go for the first ones, but that's when everybody goes. But once they've done a couple of orbital test flights, that's when I'd like to go see it.
Someday.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rod.
You betcha.
Have a great week.
Next week.
See you next
You
week.
too.
Take care.
Thanks.
Oh, a big thank you to all the folks who make this show possible. Of course, Professor Laura, our musical director back at Sherman Oaks, up here in Northern California, Kim Schaffer, our phone angel who answers the calls, and of course, all of you who listen all over the country, all over the world, really, thanks to the internet, and those of you who call in too, you also serve. Thank you so much for your support, and couldn't do it without you. We'll be back next week. I got one more segment before we have to sign off, and again, our thoughts, our prayers, our good wishes, our hopes for all the folks in the southeast facing Hurricane Ida, that terrifying storm. Stay safe, please. Follow the instructions of your local authorities. It's too late now, I guess, to go out and get extra water and stuff, so just hunker down. And please stay safe. Don't go for a ride out there. Scott's on the line from beautiful Whidbey Island up in the other side of the country. No hurricanes up there. Hi, Scott.
No hurricanes up here. I heard your call for help.
Oh, good.
Minutes ago.
Help me.
I tried calling in yesterday, and it's like, so today it's like Leo wants a call. Let me call him.
Yeah, if I say there's lines open, that's very unusual. So I'm glad you could call in.
I recognized it. I went back to back to a desktop and laptop situation in January. I stopped using my MacBook Pro in clamshell and on my 34-inch monitor, and I bought an M1.
Nice.
Apple Mini M1.
How do you like it?
Same monitor. I love it. I love it. And it wasn't a big switch from my MacBook Pro is only a year old at the time I did it. So I didn't see a lot of difference, but I love it.
You see it more in the laptops because they run so much cooler and the fans aren't noisy, and the battery life is great. A desktop like a Mac Mini, you might not notice the difference, but boy, you sure see it in a laptop.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm using my 30, I think it's a 32-inch or 34-inch monitor. I've had it for years.
Nice.
It's plugged into the HDMI cable for my Mac. Every once in a while, I go to log into my Mac Mini M1, and I get nothing but snow on the screen. First time it happened, it took me a second to realize, HDMI. Unplugged the HDMI cable.
Right.
Waited a second, plugged it back in. It was clear.
Interesting.
And this has been repeating. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen frequently enough to where I have to really try and figure it out. But it happened today as I sat down and I went, I got to call Leo. And then you said, hey, call me. I went,
HDMI, as I mentioned before, HDMI is always a little weird because it has to do a handshake. So the monitor has to go to the Mac Mini. Hey, what do you support? And the Mac Mini says, what do you support? And then they agree. Snow is a little odd, to be honest with you. Are you letting it sleep? Is that what is waking up from sleep?
Computer, I do lock screen.
Okay, yeah, so that's a sleep.
Is that a sleep? Okay. That's all I do, though.
I am looking at a Reddit, the Mac Mini Reddit subreddit, reddit.com/r Mac Mini. This is from 6 months ago. Video is snow when waking up. So you're not the only person. And in fact, another fellow chimes in with, I just unplug it, replug it, it comes back on. Yeah. So it is happening. I wonder if it's the cable. You want to make sure you have do you have other HDMI cables you could try to see?
Yeah, I've tried to finally keep an extra HDMI. If I go rooting around in my supplies, I should be able to find another HDMI cable.
I would try that.
To invest in a new one.
No, I wouldn't necessarily. Well, you can don't buy a fancy gold-plated one, but if you're going to get a new one, get an HDMI 2.0 or 2.1 and get them for mono price. They're $15. I think it's possibly the cable, but I think it's also possibly the Mini. The M1 has been, it's new, and there's some little things, little bugs they're working out, and I think it may be the fact that I'm seeing this with at least 3 or 4 people on this Reddit thread tells me maybe there's an issue. Because that's normally, if you don't get an HDMI handshake, you'll either get nothing or you'll get an improper handshake. You'll get the wrong refresh or the wrong screen size, the wrong resolution. I don't think you would get snow. Snow means I'm getting a signal. I think it's a good signal. I'm going to display it, but the signal it's getting is not your screen. It's white noise. So that to me sounds like it could be the cable, but I think more likely it's the GPU on the Mac Mini is out of sync. Is something wrong with it? So, and maybe that's something Apple knows about and will fix.
Apple about?
Yeah, I mean, the people in this Reddit saying, actually, somebody says, known issue, Apple has a pile of M1-related display issues, this among them. It will likely be sorted out over the next few months. This is 6 months ago. With macOS updates, aside from unplugging, replugging, or turning the monitor on and off, there's not much you can do other than file a report with the feedback assistant, tell them your exact cable and monitor combo, and wait. So... yeah, it sounds like at least these guys on the subreddit think it's a Mac problem. I always say, if you have an HDMI issues, try a different cable. Because just, cable, it could be interference in the cable or a bad cable. But it sounds like maybe this isn't any problem.
And it wasn't clear to me if you thought it would be a cable issue or an M1 issue, and it sounds like it's probably more leaning toward an M1 issue because of how the Reddit screen.
Yeah. Well, also the snow. The snow is odd. Yeah, the snow is odd. Are you going through anything, or is it coming directly from the Mac Mini into the monitor?
Direct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and somebody else in the chat room saying it's not the cable will not fix it. I've tried 5 different cables. I have the same thing.
Okay.
So it must be I had not heard this issue, so it's not super widespread, but it sounds like something you might want to report to Apple, and maybe they'll get a fix out for it. Last call of the day, Henry in Prescott Valley, Arizona. Hello, Henry.
Hello, Leo. Good
Welcome.
to talk with you.
Thank you.
I wanted to tell you why I enjoy Rod Pyle so much.
Why?
In the middle 1950s, I belonged to an early gang. We were called the Space Happy Moon Mice.
In the 50s, you were in a gang called the Space Happy Moon Mice.
Correct.
Was it a motorcycle gang?
No, we designed, built, and launched our own rocket.
How cool is that? And where did it go? How far did it go?
They went up as much as 2,000 feet.
Wow. Nowadays, of course, you can go to the hobby store and get these, amateur rockets. They're so much fun. I used to do it with my son. But back in the 50s, this was non-trivial. You couldn't just go and buy a hobby rocket. So how cool is that?
We had to machine them.
You had to make them yourself? Out of metal?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow. And how did you get the engines? You didn't go to Estes to get a rocket engine. How'd you get the rocket engines?
We drilled the hole in the bottom and put the igniter in there.
Wow.
I was the one who designed the igniter.
How cool. What fun. You were a rocket man back in the 50s. Henry, a pleasure talking to you. I enjoy Rod Pyle, too, I might say. Thanks to all our contributors, too. I never remember to thank Rod Pyle and Chris Marquardt, Sam Abuelsamid. They make the show, too. Thank you all for being here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Everything from the show, including audio and video, will be up there at techguylabs.com. That's free, no charge, thanks to our great sponsors. I hope you have a great Geek Week. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, Louisiana. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security and Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.